Welcome to another episode, everyone. White woman here sends a scathing message to black people. Her message: they are plotting against you. Watch.
We're always bound by fear of not getting reelected. People who knew better just stuck with racism for political reasons, is what I think. But mostly I think it is of losing control. Some higher level of trust, even of dishonest or corrupt white politicians, than of a black in some position of authority over you, for people who had grown up with these myths and fears, so that it was easier to stick with somebody that you might not have even cared for, who was white. If you let blacks get control, everything would change.
The last time we saw white people in the streets with the same level of hate and rage that we think we should be seeing now is when they were fighting segregation. Somebody had to say it. Argue with your mama. So do y'all remember how Black Lives Matter protests were being talked about? Not discussed, but talked about. Riots, chaos, violence, animals. They were calling us animals.
Yes.
Every news segment looked like the apocalypse. One trash can on fire and suddenly the whole movement was criminal.
Right.
It didn't matter that millions of people were marching peacefully. It didn't matter that we were begging for accountability. We were begging these people for accountability.
Nope.
All that mattered was how fast can we shut this shit down?
Yep.
Now, look at how they're covering these No Kings protests and the ICE protests. And be serious for a second, because they out here throwing snowballs. Snowballs. They're laughing, they're bundled up, cosplaying rebellion. Meanwhile, in the same cities, their neighbors are getting slammed into walls, grabbed in front of their kids, kidnapped off the streets. And the coverage, what's that looking like? Emotions are running high, right? The people feel unheard. Concerns about government overreach. Concerns. And that's when it clicks. Black people protest, and the question is, how do we control them? When white people protest, the question is, how do we listen to them? Same streets, same disruption, wildly different tone. Now, back to when we saw white Americans as angry as they should be now. That was rage. That was mobs that we saw. That was screaming at kids walking into schools. That was violence wrapped in concern. And even then, it wasn't framed as extremism. It was framed as fear, as loss, as people struggling with change. Sound familiar? So when I see snowballs getting thrown while families are getting ripped apart, while they're attacking a car with kids inside, a black family's car with a baby inside, I don't think the media suddenly learned nuance. I think the empathy shows up when the protest looks like you. When the anger feels familiar. When the faces feel safe. When the rage doesn't threaten the hierarchy. It just asks for a better seat in it. BLM was treated like a threat to the country. These protests get treated like a disagreement with management. One gets militarized, the other gets moderated. So no, this isn't about peaceful versus violent. This is about permission. Who's allowed to be angry without being criminalized? Who gets grace while others get cuffs? Who can throw snowballs while somebody else gets body slammed into a wall just for existing? And that, white America, that is why people are mad. Not because we don't understand what's happening, but because we understand it perfectly. Stop asking us what to do. Channel your ancestors.
Yeah. Channel your ancestors and ask them what to do. You know exactly what to do. And yes, of course, the rage, the outrage over the ICE protest, if anything, is the fact that they are being treated differently. We all know it. We all see it. And the coverage, the media apparatus, they push upon us. Nicole Renee Good, she was, of course, deleted by the Gestapo ICE agents, as was Alex Preddy. But they rarely mention the black individuals who have lost their life during these protests.
Here's this guy right here. His brand new left.
There he is, right there.
Right there.
This is actually the thought process of many white Americans, because fundamentally, racism has them believing that black people and minorities and as a whole struggle on a day-to-day basis because they actually have been struggling and they've been receiving handouts since the beginning of this country, from GI bills to welfare to free land to stolen land. They don't teach us in American history, but at the same time, white Americans were going through the Great Depression and struggling, and business collapsing and starvation and all these kind of things. Black people were still holding it together. So imagine that you are told that you are the most superior people. You are the smartest. You deserve everything that is coming to you. And you look in your pockets and you have nothing. You look at yourself and you have nothing. But you look across the aisle and those people, right, that were hung, that were beaten, that were harassed, and that were disrespected in all kinds of ways, they're thriving. The truth is that black people have saved the American economy, and this is what they don't like to tell. And even during Jim Crow, black codes, people being lynched, people being redlined into poverty, black people have still stood up. This is why they took the time to go out of their way to hold black people down, because if they left black people alone, black people would quickly outpace them.
Maturing is realizing what.
Yes, and it's not just a matter. It's not just a matter of black people helping this economy. Black people are this economy. We have $1 trillion spending power annually, and we built this economy and turned it into a world power with our sweat, blood, and labor, forced labor. And we are, of course, the only ethnicity, the only race who has not received reparations. Hell, the Jews have been receiving reparations since 1948 for a crime that did not happen on American soil. But the reparations come from Americans in the form of billions of dollars annually since 1948. Do you know that the United Nations just recently voted on slavery? The United Nations. And all of the countries in the world, except for three countries, 1, 2, 3, all of the rest in the entire world, this is what the United Nations are, all of the nations united. All of the nations agreed in the United Nations. They had a vote recently and agreed that the transatlantic slave trade, this being myself and you, brother and sister, the transatlantic slave trade, not these other slavery institutions in human history that people like to bring up when they say, well, it was not just blacks who were slaves. This group were slaves, that group were slaves, to try to justify or minimize our experience, which is the most horrific in the annals of history. Nothing else compares. And in fact, the United Nations, except for 3, all agreed that the transatlantic slave trade, that being the African slave trade, was the biggest crime against humanity in human history. This is not just hyperbolic. They didn't just wake up one morning and say this. They did a deep analysis of the earth and humans on the earth from the beginning of time. And they tracked and studied all of slavery's history, the Holocaust, all of human atrocities in human history, in the history of the world. And they all concluded, after studying this, that by far the transatlantic slave trade was the most horrific crime against humanity in the history of the world. This just happened. They all just agreed to this. Who were the countries that did not agree to this? And not only did they agree, they said that reparations, all of the United Nations agreed that reparations should be paid to every African descendant and the countries of the individuals that were kidnapped from that country. The country where the kidnappings transpired, that country too should receive reparations. This is the United Nations. Who did not agree? The three countries that voted against this: the United States of America, your country, the country you walk around holding the flag with your MAGA hat on, this country, one of three in the entire world, the country that the crime happened in, the transatlantic slave trade, slavery. The country that it happened in, not surprisingly, are the ones denying that it is the most horrific crime against humanity in the history of the world. Everyone else agrees, except the United States, Israel. I forgot the other one that fast. I got to think about it. Hopefully I can get it before the video ends. United States and Israel are two of the countries, and there's one other one that disagreed with the vote and the position of the UN.
White people really think black joy is just ghetto.
That's because white people aren't allowed to be joyful. And this isn't me being critical of white people, but the concept of whiteness is social control, right? It is rigidity. The concept of whiteness was sold as privilege, but the price of that privilege was freedom, was joy. They are only allowed to have privilege in a controlled sense. I want you to think about all of these concepts: political correctness, social manners, professionalism, dress codes. Like, all of these things are inherently controlling. Like, none of these things are freedom. None of these things are expressive. White people aren't allowed expression. And this is why black people are like white people's secret obsession and like the bane of their existence. You know what I mean? Because black people refuse to conform. And in that conformity, even though there's so much of a consequence behind refusing to conform, there's also so much joy. There's also so much freedom. And this is why there's so much of black culture that is mimicked, because it represents something that they could never be, which is why they wear our culture like a costume, because it is something that they can only temporarily enjoy. You cannot both remain part of the privileged class in society and rebel against it. Being a privileged member of a Christian colonial society means giving up the right to express yourself. It means accepting that you are a part of a greater system of control. Essentially, being white is a job, right? They are the buffer class between the elites and the oppressed, while simultaneously being a part of the oppressed class themselves. They're like the managers of a restaurant. They hate their job too. They don't make that much money too, but they make more than you. And so they're going to do everything they can to maintain that position, but they're watching you gossip with your coworkers. They're watching you steal food. They're watching you enjoy the aspects of the jobs that they can't, and they resent you for it. But they also enjoy watching you, right? It's the only fun part of the job, but they can't allow you to have too much fun. No, or then the boss is going to hammer down on them. It's not really a privilege to be white. Everything that was great about European cultures and societies, pantheons, the worship, the witches, the magic, fairy tales, everything that was great about being white, about being European, was stolen from white people. I mean, colonization was just as brutal for white people. Well, I won't take it that far, but it was terrible, And white people still haven't mourned the loss of everything that they lost.
This and tell me something that white people aren't ready to hear.
We white women have an inferiority complex. The Negro women have a sort of reputation for being so beautiful. We're a little jealous of them.
I guess you just envy us colored people.
That black women were there to support me and to advise me, but not to rise above or become better than me. And that's why when this black teacher was way better and more talented than me, I felt some kind of way about it. Now, I'd imagine lots and lots more white women have also internalized the same idea, and that's why they feel okay stealing black women's content and not giving them any credit, because the black women are just there to advise them anyway. But most black women are natural leaders.
We're jealous. I think we're jealous because we would love to be that, I think, and we don't know how to break out of the indoctrination that we have been suppressed by our entire life.
About a black woman discussing about the microaggressions that aren't talked about enough, and she spoke up about how white people.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know what you all think about what the black woman had to say to sister, that they are unable to express themselves. And this is why they mimic black culture so much, because they really have no culture of their own. This is just a fact. A violent culture. Their history is of violence, the most distasteful violence in the annals of history, in fact, as we just spoke about. But other than that, they do mimic a lot of black culture. Every race does, because of the indomitable spirit of black people. The fact that we are indeed, as the brother was saying, the rules are designed to keep us down, and yet somehow, for the most part, we still flourish. We have many issues and situations in the community that need to be addressed. But overall, we're still thriving and flourishing. You may say, well, the gang culture, this, that, and the other. That's a small percentage. That is a very small percentage. Just something that is magnified in the country, but a very small percentage. Even the black-on-black crime, the black-on-black murders are a small percentage per capita. Nevertheless, they mimic our culture for a reason. We know it.
Of a problem when it comes to black people's status or good, like a lot of success. And what I really want to talk about, and what I feel like the core of it is, it's not just the fact that yes, it's racism and and like how could you as a black person do it, but it's almost a slap in the face, because whether they want to admit or not, they know they're privileged. They know that they have a step up and advantage in the world and are 10 steps ahead, and this world's going to cater to you by a lot of things. It's a systemic thing. You got a lot of advantage. I'll give you that. So to see you, and you know the drill, we have to work twice as hard for half of what they have to then not only make it, but surpass them. It's worse when you even go above them. Oh, that's hellfire. It's hard to wrap your head around with all the odds stacked against you. How the heck did you make it above me? That is how they look at it. It's not just the fact that a black person that's staying in a black person's zone, the black person's place, you're not supposed to be up here with us. It's just, it doesn't logically make sense in their own teeny tiny brains, because what? Like, I was ahead of you. I had so many opportunities more than you. Like, the world caters to me more than you. How the heck were you able to touch where I'm at? And even if I'm not at that spot, how the heck were you able to surpass me? And once I realized that, I don't know, I kind of got giggly about it. Shit, I'd be upset too. Like, wow, if I was a white person and I knew, hey.
I'd love to hear from white people, or perhaps even just anybody, about what is this fear of blacks taking control and blacks taking the majority. It reminds me of working in social justice and working in a museum talking about slavery and racism, and how many white people talked about the fear that they had growing up of black people. And it honestly never made any sense to me, because I thought if anyone should be afraid, it should be the black people who are afraid of the white people. We're the ones that have been dealing with the racial terror. Why are white people so afraid of us? Why are white people so scared of us? I genuinely don't get it. So I really like to open a dialogue What is the fear that white people have of black people and black people gaining authority? Why is that scary?
White people all.
Well, I mean, some are going to say, of course, the fear is just guilt. Minister Farrakhan, of course, said before on the Donahue show, speaking to a white woman who said the same thing, that she fears violence from black people. That is just that they are guilt-ridden, and that they fear that if black people come into power in the same way that they now have the power, that we would do to them what they did to us. But we're just not like that. But this is indeed the fear, a legitimate fear on some of their part, that if these individuals come to power, for real, true, authentic power, not individuals put out in front as minions, but individuals who are really powerful politically, then they will do to us what we done to them. They will seek revenge. But it's not in black people, generally speaking, to ever do the things to anyone that were done to us. I mean, you have to understand the atrocities of slavery. Many people they don't teach you this stuff in school. So many people don't understand how deep it went in the things that were done. I'm going to have to get into some of it. Without trying to be graphic, I'm going to have to try to word it correctly for YouTube, but I'm going to have to get into some of this. People need to understand what really happened there. And these things are beyond black people to do, ever. They would never be able to do this. Black people are the most loving and forgiving people on earth. Just look at us.
Always, this is something else that black people don't realize. That white people always feel one step away from black people taking over. They always feel in one step. If one step happened, black people would take over. And now we'll be out of everything. They always feel, and they feel it because, of course, we're blacks, Latinos, Native Indians, we always excel beyond them. And as we excel beyond them, of course, they feel like, any minute we can take them.
Deontay Kyle made a good point regarding Black Joy. I also made a statement prior to this. If white people cannot monitor or monetize Black Joy, they no longer want it around. This is why they keep black people in such proximity, because they find joy in watching us. They find joy in watching us dance. They find joy in watching us sing. They find joy in watching us play sports. They find joy in watching us simply mind our business. Biggest consumer of the black art related to black struggle is white people, literally, on paper. But the moment we draw the line and say, hey, I'm just going to spend this amongst our community, guess what? They burn the community down. Not just metaphorically speaking, but physically. They burn the community down. Because how dare you be happy without us? This is how somebody can be racist but loves everything related to black people. You have to understand that there is a mental disconnection when you start dehumanizing people. This doesn't mean that all white people don't feel joy. No, but a lot of white people, they experience joy in a way different way than we experience joy. Because they have spent so much time dehumanizing people. So you can no longer sit there and celebrate and just be happy to be amongst each other. You have to involve some kind of brutality with it, because you guys have gained community off of brutality. Their community was built off of brutality. It wasn't built off of love and joy. Our community was built off of love, joy, and struggle. This is why within a struggle, we can still have love, joy, and celebration. You ever see a white person in a struggle? No celebration there.
About racist white people is they get really offended and angry anytime that someone displays their culture on the live stream, because they can't connect with it. They get so upset about Bad Bunny, about black culture, because they don't have culture. They cannot connect. As a black person, I couldn't understand anything that Bad Bunny was saying either, but I could feel the connection, I could feel the culture, and I actually felt really happy for Latin Americans and Latinos and everyone that's Spanish speaking, because they had a moment to connect with their culture and live stream, and I thought it was amazing. But as a black person, I come from a really amazing, deep culture, so I don't get offended. I think it's amazing. But folks that don't come from culture get really angry and offended because it's a jealousy thing. They wish they had a culture that they could connect with. So instead of just admitting that, they start raging.
I'm going to say it for you. They don't like you. They're not like us. No. They don't like us. The white man don't like you. The Spanish man don't like you. The Chinese man don't like you. The turkey man don't like you. If there was a chicken man, he wouldn't like your ass neither. Nobody likes you because you're a god and you're a goddess. Learn to not like yourself, but learn to love yourself.
Every time Black Americans take a step forward in this country, white supremacists throw a tantrum. We call it progress. They call it a threat. And every era of advancement, every hard-won inch toward equality, has been met with a violent wave of backlash. So, let's talk about it. Donald Trump recently reposted a meme on Truth Social blaming Barack and Michelle Obama for worsening racism, saying they set America back 100 years. This, coming from a man whose entire public life has been steeped in racism, from refusing to rent apartments to Black tenants in the 1970s, to calling for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, Black and brown teenage boys at the time, even after they were proven innocent, to spreading the racist birther lie that President Obama wasn't born in America. And now, in 2025, he's just proving that the playbook never changed, only the players did. When enslaved people were freed, what came next? Reconstruction. Black men winning elections, opening schools, building communities. And after that, the Ku Klux Klan,
destruction,
voter suppression, lynching campaigns, and the violent overthrow of Black-led governments across the South. Progress met with terror. I did make a video on Reconstruction a while back, so go check it out.
Okay, I will check that out. I do know all about Reconstruction nevertheless. But, after the Reconstruction era, after slavery, of course, came the organized violence against Black people. We went up, we were politicians, we had our own communities, we built our own businesses, and envy set in. They were upset. How can these people possibly be thriving after hundreds of years of slavery? They were just allegedly freed from slavery a couple of decades ago, and yet these individuals are absolutely flourishing beyond us. They were upset, as these individuals here are talking about, that when you begin to flourish and excel, they can't believe it because they say we have all of the opportunity. We have all of the advantage. We get the jobs before them. We don't get arrested for crimes that we commit. They do. The banks give us loans. The bank is going to give us the house. Something they don't give them. Redlining, everything is in our favor. And yet we have nothing and they have everything with all of the odds stacked against them. How is this even possible? The indomitable spirit, the creativity that is innate inside of Black people, individuals that built this country and thus built the world. What do you expect? Don't be angry. Do something about it. Become creative, maybe.
When Black veterans came home from World War I in uniform, having fought for democracy abroad, white mobs murdered them for daring to expect democracy at home. That became known as the Red Summer of 1919. In one of the most haunting examples, a Black soldier named Wilbur Little was lynched in Georgia for refusing to take off his army uniform after stepping off the train that brought him home from war. He had risked his life for a country that still refused to see him as a man. And he wasn't the only one. Across the nation, white mobs attacked Black veterans simply for wearing their uniforms in public, because those uniforms symbolized equality. And then there's Tulsa. When Black prosperity blossomed in Tulsa's Greenwood district, a thriving neighborhood known as Black Wall Street, the backlash was swift and brutal. Greenwood wasn't just wealthy, it was successful on its own terms. Black doctors, lawyers, barbershops, grocery...
Everything, all Black businesses. And not only that, But the United States dropped bombs on Tulsa, on their own city, on their own American city, on their own American soil. There's proof. They try to deny this. They still deny it. But they dropped bombs on Tulsa. Not only that, they dropped bombs in Philadelphia. What was it, 1985? And burned down 2 blocks. Killed 11 or so people, black people. The government did.
Stores, newspapers, tailors, hotels, and a fully functioning economy built by black families who were shut out of white society. Some residents were millionaires in today's dollars, all of it built just 50 years after slavery was abolished. Proof that black excellence could flourish when given even a sliver of space. And that's exactly why white supremacists burned it all down. In 1921, after a false accusation against a black teenager, white mobs, many deputized by local police, stormed Greenwood. They looted homes, they set businesses on fire. Eyewitnesses reported private planes dropping incendiary bombs. Black residents were shot in the street or dragged from their homes. By the time it ended, over 35 square blocks were destroyed. Up to 300 black men, women, and children were killed. More than 10,000 black residents were left homeless overnight. And not a single white rioter was ever held accountable. Greenwood wasn't destroyed because of crime or chaos or uprisings. It was destroyed because white supremacists couldn't tolerate the sight of black wealth, black self-sufficiency, and black dignity thriving without white control. That's the pattern, and you see it again in the 1960s. After the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act finally outlawed segregation and protected black voting rights in 1965, white politicians had a problem. They could no longer legally defend segregation. They could no longer say, we don't want black people in our schools, or we don't want black people voting. So they rebranded their racism with new language. They called it law and order. Law and order wasn't about crime. It was a political weapon designed to frame black Americans as dangerous, disruptive, and undeserving without ever mentioning race. Barry Goldwater hinted at it in 1964. Richard Nixon perfected it in 1968. His advisors admitted on tape that law and order was designed to attract racist voters without sounding racist. In the policy fall,
of course, they always use certain language that is just a dog whistle. We all understand what the language is for, who it is designed for, and what it is that they are trying to say. The government, they do this all the time. Law and order. President Clinton, so-called first black president, is the one who introduced the crime bill. Every time they find a way to squash, minimize, dissipate, hold down black excellence, black individuals thriving. They see it as a threat to their own lives and their own power. Again, should we somehow get control? They all have admitted this.
Fallout was devastating. Mass incarceration, the war on drugs, over-policing black neighborhoods, mandatory minimums, stop and frisk, all justified by coded language white voters found comforting. Ronald Reagan doubled down with states' rights and the racist welfare queen myth. Bill Clinton expanded the prison industrial complex even further. And Donald Trump wrapped it all in Make America Great Again, a slogan rooted in turning back the clock on civil rights. Same playbook, same backlash, same message. Black progress is the threat. White grievance is the answer. So when Trump reposts a meme claiming the Obamas made racism worse, understand what he's really saying. That the sight of a black family in the White House, educated, poised, and powerful, was unbearable for people whose identity depends on feeling superior. Obama didn't make America racist. He revealed how deeply racism still runs. Trump is the backlash to it, the embodiment of everything this country refuses to face about itself. This is unfinished history. The same forces that once burned Greenwood, that fought to keep schools segregated, that silenced civil rights leaders, they never disappeared. They just put on suits and ran for office.
That killed civil rights leaders. If we want this
cycle to end, white Americans have to stop pretending racism lives in the past.
Yep.
We have to face it in our laws, in our classrooms, in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, they like to play it down and act like racism is a thing of the past, and I don't see color and this and that. Some of them, couple, 1 out of a billion, believe that racism is over because they don't see blacks being killed in the street except by the police, by the KKK or whatever. And so that's just as far as their thinking goes, not understanding the systematic and institutionalized racism that runs the country. And many of them do understand it. They do know exactly what's going on. But to do something about it would be for them to jeopardize their privilege, to give up their privilege. If they don't want to equal the playing field. They want to continue to have an advantage. We are already thriving without the playing field being equal. Can you imagine an equal playing field? We'll shoot up here. This is what they're nervous about. This is what they don't want.
And in ourselves.
Won't better stop it too much longer though.
Silence is what keeps the system alive. And now is
Believe that.
Silence. Black
Believe
Americans shouldn't have to prove their humanity again and again.
We ain't gotta prove nothing to y'all.
Those who spread hate.
No, you prove your freaking humanity. Prove our humanity. You freaking murderers. Are you serious? You sick ass. Let me explain some of these things that has happened in the history of this country. Understand the sickness that runs deep. If anyone needs to humanize themselves, it is not us.
Rewarded with power. And yet here we are, a nation still built on denial, still terrified of accountability, still repeating the same cycle because too many white Americans would rather cling to denial than face the truth. But history doesn't move on its own. We do. So the question isn't whether the backlash will fade. It's whether we'll finally have the courage to end it, to confront what's right in front of us, to make sure this time progress doesn't have to start over again. If you'd like to support my work, there's a tip jar in my bio. I truly appreciate it.
Whites fear violence from us. We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us. See? And what you fear, may I say this, sir? What you fear, and it's a deep guilt thing, that white folks suffer. You are afraid that if we ever come to power, we will do to you and your fathers what you and your people have done to us. And I think you are judging us by the state of your own mind, and that is not necessarily the mind of black people.
To a kind of white rage that affects everyone, no matter what social...
So we moved into a first suburb neighborhood. I was out on a walk with my son, and this white lady stopped me to say, "Oh my gosh, how sweet of you to nanny for this family." Which I responded, "I'm not the nanny. This is my son." She then was just like, "Oh, okay, so you're a stay-at-home mom." I said, "Yes, I am." She didn't say anything else. She kind of just walked off. If you're thinking maybe that's a regular conversation people have, it absolutely is not. This woman asked me that because she's like, "Why are you out doing business hours, getting coffee, and not working?" When we moved into our second neighborhood, I had 3 under 3. I go to meet up with a couple of moms, about 4 white moms, because I'm new to the neighborhood. When I pull up with my stroller, this woman looks at me and goes, "Oh my gosh, it must be so hard being a single mom, and of twins at that." I look at her and I'm like, "I wouldn't know. I'm married." And then she was like, "Oh, good for you." Daycare is so expensive. And then I was like, is that why you're a stay-at-home mom? Because of daycare? She goes, oh, no, my husband went to work. I said, neither does mine. The amount of rage, hate, and anger I experience every day on this app for choosing to be a stay-at-home mom who doesn't do it all, who prioritizes herself, who wants to outsource, who wants to enjoy motherhood. This rage is really just because they do not think I deserve the same experiences. They feel like they've reserved those experiences for themselves. For many, many years, Black women were not even allowed to be stay-at-home mom. For many years, Black women were forced to raise other people's children. So I could understand why they think these experiences are only reserved for them. And the only way we can have these experiences is if we're suffering for them, is if we are struggling to be in them. And I tell you, it makes their butthole itch that I get to enjoy motherhood. I mean, butthole itch. The anger.
The real reason that some white people get upset or like don't understand when they see Black people in spaces that they're in, or Black people in positions of authority or advancing and things like that, the reason that they relate it to like, well, it must be like you're getting something that you're not qualified for, like it is racism, but there's another underlying part of that, and it really boils down to the fact that they can't fathom a reality where you advance in life, where you get a position, move up at all, without stealing something or stepping on somebody or exploiting somebody. They can't, in their brain, they don't have any recall within their collective history of any time period where they've been able to build without stealing or massacring or doing something to somebody else. So like when they see another group of people, whether that be Black people or POC, in positions that they feel like, well, no, that's my position. And when they see them, they think that, well, you couldn't have got it any other way besides taking it from somebody and like stealing it. There's no way you actually worked for it, because
that takes a lot of gall, a lot of nerve to believe that any position that we have come into and earned, that we deserve, that we've somehow got it through DEI, when all of their positions of power have come through DEI, have come through racism, have come because they don't deserve it. They didn't get it because they deserve it. They got it through racism, just because of the color of their skin. Haven't earned anything. Haven't earned anything. The audacity.
Their history and present day, they don't have, even within the country itself, standing up, the United States, they don't have any like precedent of like existing, like moving up, like building without taking something from somebody, without stealing. Like they have no creativity in their mind. Well, not even creativity, they have no recall and lack the imagination to imagine that being a possibility. So when they see a Black person or a POC in spaces and things like that, it's got to be the DEI thing, even though it don't make sense. That's the only thing they have in their brain. It's like the only way you able to make it, the only way I know you make it in this world is by stealing stuff and like, you know, exploiting and like taking things away from people that belong to them. Take things, and that's it. That's all they got. So yeah, it's the racism, of course, but it's also there's another part of that psychologically where they just don't have the recall. There's no precedent set yet, and they refuse. I don't know, to set a precedent where they can, you know, advance, evolve without exploiting or stealing from other people across the globe and right next door, you know. So that's it. They just can't understand in their brain and just don't connect. Like, how were you able to make it as a Black person? And then to look at a Black person and know like Black people's history of subjugation and oppression, and then see you actually moving, they're like, no, there's absolutely no how you fucking doing that. Blows their brain. So they had to come up with something. And the only thing that come up is what they were able to do since the beginning of days. And by the way, yes, that is stealing from other people, taking all the things, culture, resources, land. That's it. That's all they had. Unfortunately for them, because eventually, you keep resting on the fact you got to steal while other people making advancements on their own, pulling their own selves up out of bootstraps, even without fucking boots, making the boots themselves. Come a day where you don't even know how to make boots. You don't know how to do anything. Okay, y'all have a great day.
Man, what is up with the obsession of Black people, dog?
How do you think if you eat watermelon and drink grape Kool-Aid, you're more likely to somebody?
I don't think that's a true statistic.
It's true. It's true.
Are you trying to make stereotypes?
What's a stereotype?
No comment.
Talking about fully unprovoked. I'm pretty sure this man has never had a interaction with black people to begin with. Since he want to talk about statistics, let's go there. So white males make up 31% of America. Yet they make up 71% of child acts. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all know what I mean by this. And this is actually facts instead of the 1350 rule, which I broke down. You can go check that out. Like, this is real deal facts. And I didn't even mention the comments, bro. Like, when people say racism don't exist, go into these videos and look at the comment section, bro. It'd be people with no profile picture. Just imagine how many of these people are doctors, lawyers. You know, these are their burner accounts. They really feel like this about us. So, especially my black people that be coming here to my, oh, I don't see race. They see it, motherfucker. The obsession with black people is extremely weird.
So I'm hearing the next big thing on the internet right now is white people complaining that they can't get jobs because blacks are getting all the jobs.
It is weird. It really is an obsession. We see it all the time. Not just with white people, but with all of these other races getting caught on camera, on video, on a hot mic, speaking about us in some way. We're just constantly on these people's minds over here in America and all around the world. It is an obsession. It's scary. It's spooky sometimes. Really. What is wrong with you all? Get a life. Get a culture. Because black people don't even think about y'all. We be doing our own thing, living our life, having fun, in spite of our situations. That's, again, the problem that they have. How can they still be joyous, fun, spiritual, in spite of the fact that we've held them down in this way? What the hell are they laughing about? What are they smiling about? Why are they so happy? They don't get it because it's just not in them. They think about us all other freaking time. It's weird. Please stop. Really. I'm walking around and I'm walking in the store, walking down the street, stop pulling over, trying to touch on me and grab me and ask me all of these questions. Now I see what's going on. Now it's hands off. Don't come touching on me. I'm not a project. Oh, no. Stay away.
Mexicans went back home. Millions of jobs are open. But blacks are still taking all the jobs, even without DEI. So I like to say, for my people, I apologize. We've been being greedy. You know, we should be trying to catch up to 400 years of lost labor, lost pay, stuff like that. We can't get reparations, so we're trying to, we got shit to do. But I do apologize for my people. And in solidarity to y'all, I quit my Dollar Tree job. And I told my boss to give this job to a white person. Don't give this job to nobody else. I even made the kids quit. Hey, Terry. Hey, what I told you, that Pizza Hut shit is over. Yeah, you know what? Well, that's enough pizza. You've been eating this shit all year. White people need a job. Good boy. Teresa, don't look at me like that. Red Lobster, that shit is done. White people need a job. All right? Okay. Yeah, y'all can have my shit too. I don't really need it.
Yeah.
I am so sick of the people that, listen, I want to talk and I'm going to talk and I'm going to say what I want to say and none of you can stop me from saying it. Like, I'm sorry. I done my practice and I done my revision before coming on this platform. I revised. So I know that a lot of people are going to try and stop me from talking, but I will not be stopped. All right? And you can't cancel me too because none of you put me where I am. Okay?
All right. Don't let them counsel you. That's what we ain't gonna do. All right, let me know what you think in the comments. A lot going on there. These conversations are being had and they're going to continue to be had, and they're going to be had right here on this channel as well. People are being exposed. The truth is being exposed. Racism is alive and well in the country. People need to understand what is going on and why it is going on. They just gutted the Voting Rights Act. I mean, this administration is one of the most racist administrations in the history of the country, which is saying a whole lot. It is uncanny. It's scary even. You have to be careful with Trump. But there you have it. It seems to be a common theme that people believed that should black people come into power, that this will offset everything, that this will put them out of power, that black people will seek out revenge, and etc. And also, the common theme here we see is individuals not understanding or being comfortable with black excellence or black individuals thriving. They cannot understand how a group of people who have been held down, abused, battered, and despised in the worst ways in the history of the world, in human history. Again, the study has been done. It's complete. They took an in-depth analysis of the annals of history throughout the history of the earth, all of human atrocities. To no one's surprise, except the individuals in denial, the transatlantic slave trade was deemed by everyone, except for three, the worst crime against humanity in the history of the world. So don't let these people tell you, we were slaves too, and they had slavery back in 18 BC, and we don't want to hear that. With all due respect, we know the truth. I'm going to tell you exactly what went on with slavery. You need to understand what happened, so you understand the sickness of it all. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay safe and stay free, people.